Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys a little bit about one of the questions that I've been getting lately every now and then on social media, and it's a question that's come up a couple times in consultations with other clients, and that's, Jason, you said you've got clients who are recompositioning. Is there something magical you do with their macros or anything else? And look guys, this is where I'm just blunt with most of you. Counting macros is absolutely not necessary as you guys think of as traditional macro counting or meal plans or any of that for people who are not like in bodybuilding type contest prep. Okay, I want to make that clear. If you are 20% body fat and you are trying to recomposition, which means gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, even for people who are no longer ranked novices, it's not an issue of counting macros. I don't count my macros. I've been recomping all year as an advanced lifter. I don't have any of my clients count their exact macros, and I've had people who, like I have one guy who's already gone from 24% body fat down to under 20% body fat while gaining strength. Right? He has gained strength and muscle mass. And this guy gets DEXA scans. I'll be curious to see how his next scan goes. Things like that. This is what's going on with my people. I don't have people count macros, and I don't think nutrition is that complicated. A health aspect, nutrition is complicated. Look, if you're trying to control cardiovascular risk factors or medical diseases or inflammation, that's complicated. Changing body composition is not complicated in terms of nutrition. It's not something that needs the amount of attention that the internet gives it. I'm sorry, that's just not reality. Okay, that's not reality. Three things that you need to focus on. Total calories, amount of protein that you eat, and you're eating a fairly clean diet. That's about all that matters. And I'm just being honest with you guys. Like anyone who tells you that training for people who are not ultra elite athletes or people doing bodybuilding contest prep, or when we're dealing with actual medical issues, nutrition is not that complicated. Now, what I do with keto is more complicated because there's salts involved, meaning you could actually die by consuming the wrong amount of salts on a ketogenic diet, worst case scenario. It's actually dangerous to follow that sort of diet without tracking electrolyte intakes. Okay, that's actually dangerous. Even though I do keto and I'm a fan of that, just because of that factor alone, it's probably the most complicated diet you could do, only because your salt intake matters. And everything else is largely irrelevant. Do you know why most people have body composition issues, and this includes my clients, of why they get too fat when they bulk or why they struggle to gain muscle? It's the training side. All right, I actually focus on my clients. 99% of it is about the training. And all my people who want a recomposition, I tell them, let's just find your maintenance calories, eat your maintenance calories here. Here's how much protein I want you to eat. And then I tell them, fill the rest of the food however you see fit based upon your appetite. Now you can do whatever style of diet you want. We can discuss that. But I'm also not there as an eating coach. If someone has a psychological issue with food, if they need an actual eating coach for their psychological side, the mental aspects of it, I would outsource that out. I have people I can refer my clients to. And no, I don't make just public recommendations because I don't want trolls harassing people. But yeah, if I have a client or a prospective client who has a major eating issue, I have coaches who specialize in that I can outsource them to. But they're not going to be your strength coach. You're going to have two coaches at that point because that's different. Like that's a totally different skill set. That's a different wheelhouse. And you don't meet people who, in my experience, who are good strength coaches who can help you with the psychology of eating and help you break your issues with eating due to your childhood and everything else. Because that's actually a form of therapist, right? That's not a strength coach. Because that's what people have. They have disordered eating patterns, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm coaching people on their lifting. But what I find is that it's a training end. In other words, every one of my clients who've come to me who are over 20% body fat at the start, which has been a few, they were not training with adequate stimulus. They were under training while overeating. right? They were under training while overeating, and they gained nothing but fat. And again, I've got several of those there who were above 20% body fat, who were not as strong or as big as they should have been, which is why they're hiring a coach. I mean, if you bulk to 24% body fat and your deadlift is still less than 400 pounds, something is wrong, right? Something is wrong with the training end. So that's a lot of what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with stuff like that. And so then you help these people get their training in order, because here's the situation. People are only getting that fat because they're overbulking and they're eating enough to gain enough weight, but they're not training correctly with enough volume, with ideal workloads, with ideal progressions to maximize muscle growth. And if you aren't literally maximizing all of your muscle growth, but you're actually bulking, that's going to go really badly. In other words, if you're actively gaining weight in the range of something like a pound a week, and your training workloads are not absolutely maximized near your maximum recoverable volume, which will go up as a result of that much weight gain, and everything's not dialed in perfectly on your progression, you're just going to get really, really fat. That's what's going to happen. It's that simple. So what I do with my people is I have them stay mostly at maintenance calories. Unless they need to gain or lose weight, I have my clients, for the most part, if we're happy with their current body weight, and then we can always lean bulk people later. We can bulk people. I have people who cut. I have one person who needs to lose 50 pounds right now. But the point is, with most of them, stay near maintenance calories. I prescribe a protein intake. And yes, it's probably a lot higher than most of you would expect, because again, these are paying clients who are in optimized training programming, right? These are people who I have their own custom written programs that are updated weekly, that again, I'm pushing people up to near their maximum recoverable volume sometimes, right? And everything is periodized with all periodized training, and it's personal. It's weak point training for that person. So since everything is optimized based around their lifestyle, I can adjust it based upon their caloric intake. And what you usually find is that once you put someone on really, really effective training programming, their maintenance calories start climbing. That's what usually happens. Their maintenance calories start climbing. And so as a general rule, they have to start eating more and more. But usually I tell them, eat at maintenance calories unless we need to actively gain or lose weight. I usually give them a target protein number and tell them eat how they see fit within reason. If they have problems with certain foods, I can discuss that a little bit, but very, very little of it's nutrition based, because it's just not necessary for most people out there to recomposition. Usually failed recomps, because most people can figure out their maintenance calories unless you've got a serious issue with your eating. I mean, even me, I know my maintenance calories. You know your maintenance calories. Eat at maintenance. But if your training isn't optimized, that's where 99% of recomps fail, because most people don't know how to train. They don't understand training programming. They don't know how to program their own training, or oftentimes anyone else's. And if you can't do that, then how are you going to stimulate maximum muscle growth while, again, keeping total recovery and stress in check? So that's really the issue. So for the majority of my people, it really is not a problem as far as the nutrition end. Because again, if a lot of them are drifting above 20% body fat, but they're not going up over 200 pounds, which again is actually fairly common for a lot of like early intermediates, late novice lifters, and they're still not happy with their strength and muscle, it's a training issue. It is a training issue, because if you should have gained 10 more pounds of muscle during a certain time frame, and you didn't gain that 10 pounds of muscle, how much fatter are you? You're a lot fatter as a result. So these people have already oftentimes overbulked, and so recompositioning someone doesn't require any complex nutrition. You just have them eat really high protein and eat maintenance calories. If they weigh 180 pounds and they need to recomp, make them eat 180, 200 grams of protein every day. Their maintenance calories are 3,000, have them eat 3,000 calories, and dial their training in perfectly. and that person magically starts gaining muscle and losing fat. It isn't that complicated. That doesn't require meal plans. It doesn't require any sort of exact macro counting. Well, that's what I mean by that is people are like they have a carb, fat, and protein number. None of that's actually necessary. Look, calories in your protein. That's it. And I literally have clients who recomposition on that. And these are not people who just started training. I do not have a single client who has less than a year of training experience. And you know what? And I don't prescribe specific foods because it varies on their appetite. I have one guy right now who struggles to eat enough, who literally his maintenance calories are 4,000 calories. I am actually bulking him, and I can't put any fat on him. Now he's getting stronger, he's gaining muscle, but I swear he's looking leaner. Like I think he's leaner now than he was a month ago, even though the scale is up a couple of pounds. He's up body weight. But you know, this person eats junk food. He eats candy. And that's because that's what he has to do to gain any body weight. And it seems like no matter how much food you throw at that person, he loses body fat. Because his training alone ends up making him burn through a lot of calories. He's also very young. So, again, there is no magic numbers here. And I think nutrition itself, other than for people who are focused upon the extreme physique thing, I think nutrition gets way overhyped. It gets way overblown. And for 99% of people, the amount of nutrition information out there is way more complicated than it needs to be, and I think it gets over-focused. And I'm not saying it's not important, but for most people's goals, it's not nearly as important or complicated as it's been made out to be. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.